achieve that price, and then we charge a fee to be able to do that. There are some sellers that just don't want to go through that process. They don't want people in their house. They don't want to do open houses. They don't want to pick their underwear up on the floor and wash their dishes every day and make their bed and all the things you're supposed to do. And so they just want quick and easy, and they're willing to sacrifice money to be able to do this. So I was talking to a guy just this morning in my 8 o'clock call that is doing a transaction with Zillow in the Phoenix area. Maybe it's Tucson, no, Phoenix area. It might be Tucson, where he is, where they're doing that, and he's representing them. He's getting Zillow's paying him to, as the representative, so he's getting his fee, even more. But he's looking at the seller. He said, we could put it on the market, and we would easily get you another $20,000. And the seller's response is, I know, I don't want to deal with that. I just need to sell right now. I want it to be over with. Take the deal. And they have a 7-day inspection, or a 3 or 4 day inspection, and then they're going to inspect it and close in 7 days. And that's what the seller wanted. So there is a place in the universe for these iBuyers and iOffers, and the smart agents are going to contact these companies and get offers. So, for instance, I can see a couple of examples where agents can use it to their advantage. Number one, if a seller is really looking for a fast offer, all you can do is if they're available in your market, you can just make contact with them, and you can bring them an offer right away, and you'll get paid as the listing agent on that transaction. So maybe the buyer's agent too, you might double in the deal. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is if you only have one offer and you would like to be in a multiple counteroffer situation, call an iBuyer. Get a iBuyer offer. Now you're in a seller multiple counteroffer situation that you might be able to use that low wholesale offer in order to squeeze a little more out of maybe the retail offer. And another way to do it is to just help your seller kind of get a sense of what the bottom looks like. It's a safety net where you come out and say, let's see what these guys will do. We'll get you 2 or 3. We'll get you 1 or 2 or 3 offers, and then anything that we do above that is an improvement, and maybe it helps set the right expectations for sellers as well. So I think it's good. These iBuyers are not competing against you. You have to look at them as buyers, and if you're an investor, then you might want to get aligned with one of these guys, or you could work with individual agents or individual agency as your market and help them put together their own iBuyer kind of program. But these big companies like Zillow and Redfin, they're using hedge fund money, and they've got hundreds of millions of dollars at their disposal, and they are not going away. But this is representing a very small percentage of the transactions, probably smaller than the fix and flip numbers that we see. So there's my thoughts. Probably, again, more than you were looking for.
There you go. Second story before we get to Q&A. The second story of the week is Wells Fargo. I'm sure you have lots of comments on this one too, David. For any of these stories, if you want, go to honish.com or get them where I got them, which is housingwire.com. But if you want a easy place to get the updates on the stuff we talk about, go to my website, honish.com. Can't even say my name. Honish.com. Scroll down. I put them into my blog line. Wells Fargo reveals software error that leads to hundreds of faulty foreclosures. This one is actually bleeding around on social media today with our circle and our extended circle, and people are putting in their own comments about Wells Fargo. Before I read the story, can I just safely say this is a story about people who did not pay before everybody gets up in a roar and I start having a avalanche. I'm going to defend Wells only at that. Earlier this year, Wells revealed that a software error in its mortgage underwriting system led to hundreds of unnecessary foreclosures. But now it appears the problem is even bigger than the bank first thought. Initially, Wells Fargo disclosed that the software error led to approximately 625 customers being either incorrectly denied a mortgage modification or not being offered one in their situation, if they where they would have qualified. And of those roughly 625 customers, approximately 400 of them lost their homes via foreclosure after the loan modification was incorrectly denied or not offered as a result of the underwriting software error. But the figures are actually higher than that. Shocker. Wells Fargo revealed Tuesday in a filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission that a further review of the situation showed that the software error led to 870 improperly denied mortgage modifications, and it actually led to 545 faulty foreclosures instead of 625, and 400 foreclosures that the bank initially disclosed. So the review found that 245 more borrowers were falsely denied a modification, and an additional 145 borrowers lost their homes when they shouldn't have. Wells Fargo disclosed in an SEC filing that the review of its use of a mortgage modification underwriting tool found a calculation error that affected certain mortgages that were in the foreclosure process between April 13th, 2010 and October 20th, 2015. According to Wells Fargo, the error caused an automatic miscalculation of attorney's fees that were used to determine whether a borrower qualified for a loan modification with Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or under the terms of the government's Make Homes Affordable Modification Program. In the SEC filing, Wells Fargo said the borrowers were not actually charged the attorney's fees in question, but the error led to more than 800 incorrect mortgage modification denials and 545 subsequent foreclosures. I think if I jump ahead in the story, I think they're setting aside something like $13 million or something in repercussions. But can I just say for the record, the bank doesn't have to do this. I mean, this is a courtesy to give people modifications, David.
Right.
If you follow the foreclosure process correctly, the bank doesn't have to give modification. This is the one thing that frustrates me when I meet homeowners face to face. The bank's going to do it. You're just going to do. And I've encountered that phone call while I've worked at a bank where people just call up, you're just going to do it. No, you didn't pay. The bank doesn't have to do anything other than follow the foreclosure process correctly. I mean, sure, the SEC is probably going to come down on them, and we're a crunchy, politically correct society, and probably this is a very crappy thing if I weren't an asset manager. Wells Fargo said they set aside $8 million during the second quarter to use to remediate the customers who were injured by this. I see a class action lawsuit with these people, but at the end of the day, they're going to get up in front of a judge, and Wells Fargo is going to raise their hands and go, we don't really have to do this. There's nothing really compelling Wells Fargo to make modifications. They just do it because they don't want to deal with the deluge of it is painfully obvious to me, and I could be wrong, David, maybe you have a different perspective, that modifications cut down the number of foreclosures so tremendously that they kept it in their back pocket even after the quote unquote collapse of the market, because it made foreclosures so much more manageable and it made REO so much more manageable that it just became a normal process to try to modify people and buy a little more time and we're still at a ridiculously high rate of foreclosure, even, 10 years after the fact. What is your take on this that I suspect will become a video on your website shortly?
Well, I don't know if we'll do a video on it, but first of all, your points are right. The bank is never obligated to give anybody a loan modification or even to review them for a loan modification if they don't meet the criteria. Now, in California, the California Homeowner Bill of Rights, and many states, have it where they have legislated that they do have to at least review them for a loan modification and stop the foreclosure while they're in loan modification. But listen, not even Wells Fargo thinks this is a big deal. I mean, what they've set aside is an average of $12,600 per wrongfully foreclosed homeowner for damages. So that tells you what the extent of their concern is. It's, minimal. And that probably that is probably less after you take out attorney fees and that kind of thing. So it's not enough money to really cause a stir. I mean, Wells Fargo's big thing is that they're still trying to overcome the branding disaster that they had from, the 2 million, accounts that were falsely opened and the 5,000 employees that they fired and, the CEO that got ousted as a result and that kind of thing. So this is really part of their brand rebuilding, in my mind, where they're just confessing their sins and letting people know. But this information hasn't been widely circulated outside of the mortgage and real estate industry. So I don't think that it's going to really have any impact on them. I think it's more required for an SEC filing than anything, and it's pretty much flying under the radar, and it won't change a thing.
Yep. Let's see. John Sloan, one of our coaching students, 73% of leads that were provided to agents from Zillow's are not followed up on, and that's why they are changing their methods. 73% of agents are just lazy, John.
All right. Well, but hold on. But here's the thing. So let's answer the Zillow question. Zillow is, I don't know what the numbers are, but it's billions of dollars that they're generating in income from real estate agents paying to advertise on their site, which is really all it is. They are an advertising platform. They have iBuying and being in the real estate business are not the same thing. Now, what you see Zillow doing, I spend no time worrying about Zillow competing with real estate agents. They're not. They're competing with mortgage people. They just purchased a mortgage company, and you're going to see Zillow Mortgage pop up all over the planet, especially on their site. But it's going to be mostly an internet-based mortgage company with telemarketers handling those calls, kind of like Quicken Loans is. I think you're going to see them trying to use their platform to create a Quicken Loans version of what they're doing. And you may see them get into the escrow business, and you may see them do some of these ancillary services because consumers trust Zillow. For real estate agents don't, but consumers do. But if they were to start listing houses, it would devastate their business model because agents would run from them and would protest with their dollars. And I don't see that happening. What they're simply trying to do is add income stream, residual income, ancillary income, all around what they're doing, because at the end of the day, their value as a company comes from the number of consumer eyeballs that are going to their site every single day. Okay. And from that, they're selling that exposure to estate agents. And now they're looking at, and they've had mortgage people on there, but they've made the conscious decision if they haven't, to get rid of mortgage advertising on the site, and they're going to be offering their own quotes. You're going to see, but I don't have any fear or worry about them getting into the business. Yeah, are they going to be an investor? Yeah, but that's not competing. They're letting agents handle the transaction for them, and you don't have to even be a Zillow agent in order to get a commission from selling one of your listings to a Zillow to Zillow in their iBuyer program. So I think it's a lot of to do about nothing. And I think that what we ought to just focus on is what we're doing and creating a value proposition. The real estate industry has a problem right now because of purple bricks. I mean, I'm closing a transaction today. In fact, the person who's closing is calling me right now, but they'll wait. I'm closing a transaction today where the listing agent charged on a $468,000 transaction, charged like $7,000, $7,500. Okay, they paid us 2.5%, but the total commission is about, they were charging like 4% on the whole deal. and I'm seeing, maybe 4.5%, and I'm seeing what used to be, 5% and sometimes 6% has already become 4% and sometimes 5%.